The Short Game is listener-supported on Patreon. If you'd like to support the show and join us on our Discord, head to theshortgame.net or patreon.com/theshortgame.
Howdy, partners, and welcome back to The Short Game. I'm your sheriff, Nate Heininger, and I'm joined today with two of my favorite deputies.
I'm actually the farmer's daughter, Laura.
Reformed bandit, Shane.
And today, we're talking about a game called Card Cowboy. And we're only going to keep these accents going for just a little bit while longer, at least me personally.
Well, I don't know about you. I don't have no accent.
I reckon it might come up a few times during the story.
I suppose it may be hard to go in and out. But I'm going to try. We've got a delightful little game to talk about today called Card Cowboy. This is a game that was developed for a game jam called Crimp Jam that I could not find any information about. But Shane, you are the one who found this game and recommended that we play it, or at least suggested that we play it. So how did you go about finding this game?
Well, it all goes back to when I was just a boy. And I got on TikTok. And
all the boys do.
So yeah, I have I spend a lot of time on TikTok these days, just kind of swiping through like random indie game junk. And basically this one piqued my interest because of my love of card-based roguelikes, which this pretends to be.
So that
it's got a smattering of procedural generation.
So
it has
that right there. Like Shane pitched this as a cowboy-based deck building roguelike. And I was like, "Oh, how has this never?"
I remember. So I saw. That's exactly it. What happened was I saw like some random clips of it, and I was like, "Man, that looks like a card based roguelike with a sense of humor." That seems kind of up my alley. You know how much I love deck building, and that's not what this game is at all.
No, not at all. And
it pitched to you guys under those false pretenses, and I'm so glad we played it, even though I was way off base, because what it is very different.
Yeah, so much so, Shane, that it actually impacted my initial enjoyment of this game, because I don't know why. I just, in my head, I hear roguelike and I think something like, it's good. There's going to be a challenge to it. Mm-hmm. And so when the game starts, I was like legitimately trying to like, oh, there's a health bar and I've got these cards. And I thought like, oh, there must be like, there's some optimization here. I'm going to have to really be thoughtful about my card selection. I want to win.
It's really tough because you start off with only like 4 hit points. And I mean, everything else in this game is represented by cards like horse, lasso, whiskey. I think you start every game with those 3 cards: horse, lasso, and whiskey.
Classic.
And if you're lucky, you might upgrade to things like gun or man.
So I was initially like, I don't think I like this game, because I was trying to play it as a serious game. And it impacted me so much that like I finished the first game because it only took like 20 minutes. I was like, that was kind of dumb. And then I started again. And I played it for a second time, and I thought, I think I loved this game. I just didn't know what I was doing at first. It's sort of. I do remember
you came back on the chat and were like, I beat this in the first run.
Yeah. I was like, is this what this is supposed to be? Like, I could not tell. I played it again and I realized, all right, this is just a comedy game. It's a goof 'em up. the whole thing is to make you laugh. It's cowboy Mad Libs. But Shane, I am glad that we played it, even if it was a confusing experience at first.
I mean, when else can you offer a farmer's son a ride on a dead horse and then you marry him?
Right?
You get a wedding back. Cool.
Yeah. I guess we should set up what this game actually is a little bit more. I'll take a crack at it, and then you two can fill in the blank. So this is
apropos.
This is a grueling deck building roguelike that will really test your mettle and your skills. You play as a cowboy who his parents and his dog were killed by some sort of evil cowboy, and
when you were 6, he wooed your mom, killed your dad, and kicked your dog.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and now you vowed vengeance, and you start off on your quest with, like Shane said, you've got 3 cards. You've got a nice little layout at the bottom of the screen with your cards and your health. You start out with classic cowboy cards, and you're placed on a map that actually reminded me a lot of the spooky deck building game we played earlier in the year that everyone loves.
Magic the Gathering.
Inscription.
Yes.
Ding, ding. Not Magic. There you go. Inscription, where you have sort of like a board game style layout in front of you with different paths and different things that you can click on, and your delightful little cowboy will move to that spot, and you enter into a random encounter. And in those random encounters, it's a bunch of classic cowboy situations, like you walk into a bar and you need to prove how strong you are, and you click one of your cards, drag it into the little icon, and it plays out a scene where using whatever card you place, and you can put whatever card you want as long as it's in your deck. And however the scene goes, it might be something that goes well for you and you get more cards. It might go poorly where you lose cards or even lose health. And that's the game as you travel through these different these little randomized instances where ultimately I think the whole point is to try to play the most ridiculous card and get the most ridiculous outcomes and laugh and hopefully kill the bad guy at the end of the game.
May I give a shout out to the taxonomy of these cards? The suits are horses, people, money, lassos, whiskey, and calendar.
Yeah, it's interesting where those
I think those are all events.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make more sense. I enjoyed my notes just saying calendar question mark.
Yeah, sometimes the game knows specifically what you have played, and the reaction will be specifically like you play your lasso, and it'll say like you lasso the thing. But sometimes it doesn't really know. It just goes off the taxonomy as you've outlined. So it just will be completely insane where you're playing like a baby card, and now all of a sudden your baby is robbing a bank or whatever, or winning poker chips for you.
I think there was a bar fight or a poker, like I walked into a saloon and was challenged to cheating at cards. It's this repeated thing. And I put down the dead horse card, and somehow during the events, I managed to turn it into a prize stallion. So the dead horse I'd been dragging behind me for like 10 turns suddenly was up and had a gold medal around its neck.
Yeah, there's a card upgrade system, and I think every card there's a base level, there's like a couple of downgrades, and then there's one upgrade, and then if you go past that, it just like you'll get multiple of the same card. And so like the horse card can downgrade into a baby horse or a dead horse, and either of those can upgrade into a normal horse. And I think there's that for everything. There's like a bandit that could be a reformed bandit or a dead bandit. It's I don't know. That's ultimately the game, is putting in these cards and like seeing the silly outcomes. What else?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. It's all played out on a randomly generated board that you can kind of move around in or you can backtrack. It's got that kind of roguelike looking tree structure. So at first I thought, I'm not going to be able to backtrack here. No, you can just go back across the map any which way you like, as long as you're, eventually ending up at the destination. You're going to start seeing a lot of the events repeat, but that's part of the fun because this is very much a game of, as you said, Mad Libs, trying to figure out what combinations will give you the weirdest results. I think an example is there's a time where you'll sit down by a lake and there's a rattlesnake, and I tried a few different things. I saw that one a few times. Most of them gave you pretty reasonable things, like you try and scare it off with your gun, you scare it off, or you offer it a glass of whiskey and it bites you or something like that. But if you use the card dysentery, you explain to the snake how sick you are and how gross your dysentery is, and it hisses back, disgusting, and talks to you about how nasty you are before leaving you alone. And so it's that kind of interaction that, and this, by the way, would not have really landed for me as well if it weren't fully voice acted. The version I think of this game to check out is the version on Steam, because this was a Game Jam game, as you mentioned, Nate. It is available pay what you want on itch.io. I really suggest that people check out the $3 version on Steam, because the voice acting and the way that they put it together, with the kind of cut and paste elements in the card names, is so funny. Nate, I know you have some clips of it. Could you play some of those?
Yes, and we don't do this often on this show, but I thought this is what ultimately brings this game together for me as well. I think if it wasn't for the voice acting, I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much. And I think some of this goofiness is very intentional. So I'm going to play. There's a card or an event that you'll get where an old cowboy is giving away his stuff and he's going off to ride into the West, and it'll be a random selection of items. And I selected one, and you'll hear it in the clip. So here we go.
They hand you their cute gun reluctantly. Do me a favor and keep this in your holster, kid. I don't want anybody else dying because of this here cute gun. He sighs deeply as he steps aboard the train.
Oh my gosh, that's... when I worked at Crooked Moon, I had to record all of the placeholder audio for every single one of the many, many, many games we did, because every game had voiceover because it was for pre-readers. And the amount of times someone suddenly would send me DMs and be like, please check out this link, and I would click on it. It would just be going A, B, C, or just saying every color, because you have to say them the exact same way. So yeah. Cute gun is definitely cute that
gun.
I have to stick this in a sentence.
I imagine that this was something that served two purposes for them, because again, it's a Game Jam game. Now they did add some stuff to release it to Steam, but it's still
I think
low
most
budget.
Of the voiceover was added.
Yeah.
Steam. Yeah.
And it's, you assume, low budget, small team. So they don't have the time or the money to do a full voice acting for every potential combo. So this solves for that. And also the game is stupid and funny. It is really stupid and funny how they just clearly copy paste these pre-recorded item names into the rest of the story. So it makes it better. It makes it better. It's so funny. I've got a couple more. There was we talked about earlier where it knows you're playing a horse, but it doesn't really care what type of horse you're playing. So the event won't make a lot of sense, but it's still funny. So here you go.
A criminal is about to be hung by the sheriff. They look kind of sad about the whole thing. You have a front row seat and you ride your dead horse through the gallows and rescue the criminal while getting shot at. Ow!
So in that instance, I got -1 health and a bandit card. And then I've got one more. Again, the game knows you're playing a people card, but it doesn't know what kind of person it is.
As soon as you saunter in, the place immediately goes silent. The bartender looks you square in the eyes. We don't just let anyone in here. You go to prove your grit and reach for your... They deny you entry, but let your friend come in. You watch from outside while everyone drinks and dances with your baby.
Ouch. So it's got that nice, jaunty, cowboy saloon piano music going in the background, and you ultimately take 1 point of damage because you had to watch through the window as a saloon full of people dance and drink the night away with your baby.
And a run of this game is going to take you, I would say, in the neighborhood of about 20 minutes. But if you were like skipping quickly through it, not listening to the narration, you could get through in like maybe even 5 to 10. But the replayability is reasonably high. All in all, I would not say that this game is like infinitely replayable. The randomness that is associated with this kind of card-based, randomly generated map kind of gameplay, usually that is to let you really delve deeply into the rich mechanics. For this game, it's mostly just about having a chance to try a few more dumb things and out of pure curiosity. So I played through this game about 3 times, and I probably won't go back to it, but that was a perfect $3 well spent.
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean, first of all, it does some things at the end that give you an idea to the potential of it as far as randomness goes. I played 4 times, and every time I saw around 17 to 20 different cards. But according to the end page, there's 52 different cards. So there's definitely a lot of combos to unlock there if you want. Unfortunately, there is no sort of UI that tells you what cards you have or haven't seen in your time there.
There is.
Wait, where did you see it?
Yeah, if you click in the little card deck icon in the top left of the screen.
That only shows you for that run, though, not like if you combine all of your runs. I want to know if I've seen all of the cards.
Are you sure about that, partner?
Well, partner, I was pretty sure, but now that you're asking,
I'm not completely sure neither, partner.
Now, don't make me reach for my cute gun and shoot you dead.
Ow. I can't believe you've killed me with that cute gun.
We really just did this episode so we could there's a lot of guns. There's cute gun, there's double guns, there's gold gun, there's just gun. Any good cowboy event has a lot of different guns.
This game has 50 cards in it or more.
50,
yeah. I think it's 52.
Yeah, and there's I would say at least like 30 or 40 different events, and a ton of the events will give you like unique results and narration from there's some of the most bizarre combinations. I really like that about it.
There's an event that you can combine cards as well, and I combined it's like a fortune teller, which only kind of makes sense, but it makes sense for cowboy sense. It's a fortune teller, and you can combine 2 cards, and I combined poisoned whiskey and my horse because I didn't understand the mechanic yet, and all it did was kill my horse.
Oh no.
But there was a good one where you can confess to a priest, and I confessed about my wedding, and the card that I got back from that was nasty party.
Oh.
So there's Yeah, there's a lot of really silly cards and a lot of like I think I later took that nasty party and used it to there's a shooting competition and they're like, what do you do to prove your effectiveness at this shooting competition? And so I told them about the nasty party and they weren't impressed.
Oh no.
Yeah, it
Should
didn't
have talked about dysentery instead.
Yeah, apparently.
I think we've said all there is to say. Y'all want to
Yes.
go on to...
So we kind of knew when we were doing this episode that there's probably not a lot for us to talk about. This might be one of the shortest episodes we ever have as far
That's
as
what
like,
we're here for.
as far as the game goes. But I really thought like this is exactly what this show is for. This is a silly, fun little experience that was put together by a group of people just to make you laugh and to have a little bit of fun. And it's $3. I mean, you could do a lot worse with $3. I'd also throw out too, like I did not do this yet, but I bet this would be a lot of fun with kids, where they get to pick whatever card goes in. So we've been talking about that a lot more recently. Games that would be fun with kids, and I think this one would work. There's some light adult themes at times, but nothing that goes above and beyond what you'd see in any other sort of like Pixar movie or whatever. So I think it's worth playing and it's fun. It made me laugh, and I did 4 runs in like an evening and had a good time with it. So I think we all recommend you go and check this game out.
I do. If you want to laugh and have like only a small amount of time that you need to waste, this is it.
Yeah. Man, I would have played the heck out of this on a phone.
Yeah. I wonder if they have any plans for like expansion, because I think they have a funny recipe here. I haven't really played. It made me think of like Apples to Apples or, Cards Against Humanity, those sorts of board games where the whole point is to play a card and make you laugh. And I haven't really seen that in very many video games, so I felt like they stumbled on a really good, or not stumbled maybe very intentionally, but they landed on a fun mechanic for humor in a way that I haven't seen before. So I think they could really expand this or do it again with a different, maybe that'd be the better way to do it. Like go to a different genre and do like something different than Cowboys. But I thought it was pretty funny, and I could see them doing more, or I hope they do more of these things.
I mean, this could scale to any, like I could think about a space, a fantasy, like anything. Like
Give me a
basic genres.
Mafia thing, anything,
Yeah.
All of this ripe for
Studio 54, the card game. Except you can't call it Studio 54, so you call it like Dance Hall 93.
Studio 52. 52 cards.
Hey.
It writes itself.
Yeah. I noticed that a couple of the people who worked on the game were from Alchemy Labs. I don't know if y'all know that group, but that's the people that made Job Simulator.
Nice.
I feel like there's some DNA maybe in common there. I know they have primarily they put out kind of very humorous VR experiences, and there's a few good ones there. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, this is a there's definitely some shared sense of humor. So if that's all we got to say about this game, and I mean, you should check it out, listeners at home. I'd like to hear what listeners think, by the way, about us doing some of these really smaller experiences, things that do take like 20, 30 minutes. A lot more of this stuff exists, I think, because maybe it draws a lot of online attention. We tend to gravitate towards slightly larger indie games. But hey, we're the short game. So, tell us what you think about this kind of coverage. And I'd love to go on to one of my favorite parts of the show, what's making us happy this week. I will start by asking Nate. Hey, Nate, what's taking a 6 gun to your sadness this week?
I think that accent is going to take a 6 gun to Nate's sadness right there.
Well, partner, I'm so glad you asked. I was feeling real sad over here, and now my mood's a lifting. I've been playing. This is maybe the opposite of a small indie game. I have been playing the new game Marvel Snap.
Ooh, like camera snap?
No, I thought that first as well. When I heard about Marvel Snap, I thought, finally, the Pokemon Snap genre is evolving, no pun intended, and
more of a Thanos kind of snap, right?
Yeah. So it turns out Snap, has a very specific meaning within the Marvel world as well, although it's not super related to the game.
Oh, the Snap.
The Snap, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
the Thanos Snap.
I was a little disappointed that it wasn't Pokemon Snap, but for Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
And which I still am surprised that the Pokemon Snap genre, we don't get more Snap likes, But anyway,
we did cover Bug Snacks, which is about as close as we get.
That's fair.
Know.
Yeah. So I'm not normally really into, these branded major releases on iPhone or whatever, but this happened to line up with one of my favorite genres, which is a deck building, not a roguelike, but a deck building game, a collectible card game. Shane is a fan of one. I can't remember the name of it. What is that, Shane?
That's Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yes.
That's right.
Super big Yu-Gi-Oh! Collector.
But I'm not as big of I don't have a lifetime of enjoyment of these games like Shane does, but I absolutely love this style of game. I've been into Hearthstone for a long time. I loved Magic the Gathering, all the little sub ones. I've played a ton of them. And so
What's that one? Sorry, what was that one you just mentioned? I've never heard of it.
Gathering Magic.
That's okay. That's cool. I'll Google it.
Check it out. It's really a low barrier to entry, cheap game, fun to play. And so everyone kept saying Marvel Snap, it's innovative because it's really, really short, which is true. One of the difficult things about collectible card games is besides the fact that you got to find someone to play with, if there's not a good online element, a lot of the matches can be long. I particularly like that usually, but it is a barrier to when you can play and how long you might play, because an individual match can be a long time. Even Hearthstone, which started very quick, has become so dense that a single match can take a long time. Mm-hmm. So Marvel Snap simplifies everything and adds a new mechanic that I think is pretty interesting. So first of all, it's only a 12 card deck. So that right there,
that's pretty cool.
You're significantly trimming everything down to with a 12 card deck. And there are 6 turns. That's it. 6 turns.
Do you run multiples of cards or is it
single? One of single. And so first of all, just the framework, 12 card deck, 6 rounds, that is inherently going to be simpler. It uses the Hearthstone style thing where you start with 1 energy on round 1. You can play 1 cost cards, 2 energy on round 2, 3 energy round 3, so on and so forth. You can play as many cards as you want as long as you have energy to spend them. But for the most part, you're playing a 1 energy card on round 1, a 2 energy card on round 2, 3, and so on. So it's 6 rounds. You're usually playing 6 cards. Games can go 5 minutes. But the strategic element of it that is really compelling is that most, if not all, collectible card games, you're just sort of playing on a blank space in front of you that's representing the play area, and you're playing your cards, and there may be some left-right element to it, but it's just everyone's playing out onto the same space. In this game, there are 3 locations, and your goal is to win 2 of 3 locations.
Yep.
And it comes down to, you play your Colossus card, which is a 2 cost, 3 power card, and they play their Hulk, which is a 6 cost, 12 or 5 cost, 9 power, something like that. If the game ends, they've won that location because they had more attack power on it. And then each location also has a random element. Sometimes it will be like cards that cost 3 cannot be played here. No card can be played after round 3, and they add these random elements that add sort of like a crunch to the board. And it's an interesting metagame of a lot of cards react to the cards that your opponent plays if you play them in the same area as them. So you're not just trying to figure out where you're going to play, you're also trying to predict where your opponent is going to play and sort of bounce off of that. And there's always been that element of like, I'm trying to foresee what my opponent is going to play. But because the deck is so limited and there's only 3 locations to play and there's only so much energy, you actually can kind of reasonably predict like what card your opponent is going to play, and you can try to game out where they're going to play it. And it's really interesting. I think you have so much more information than other games, and it happens so fast. I really, really enjoy it.
It seems really cool. I like one of the things I really like about the game, as I've seen it discussed online, is because it is very mobile native, and you've got these 3 zones with like 4 slots on each side in each zone. The overall battlefield, at the end of the game, is going to have a pretty limited number of cards on it, and it's going to be pretty easy. It seems like it's pretty easy to at a glance tell what's going on in the game, which is often really annoying for this kind of card game.
Yeah.
And I love the random zones idea for a digital card game, because it adds a little bit of a random element to every game, even if the meta game has landed on like certain decks being really dominant or certain cards being really dominant, and you're going to see them over and over again. Well, maybe they can still shake it up by having random zones that make different things more or less viable.
And they do things like that where they switch up and they'll say like, all right, this zone is new and is running for the next 3 days as a common zone. So, there was one of those was when this location is revealed, everyone gets 5 energy in that round. So you wanted to be ready for that. So, at least I was making sure my deck leaned expensive cards, because normally you wouldn't get to play those until round 5 and 6. But there's a very high possibility that on like round 1, 2, or 3, you're suddenly going to find yourself with 6 energy, 7 energy, and you're going to want to use all of that. I don't know. It's been interesting. I think that there is some annoyance with, this game is pure, like, we're going to blow your face up with bright, shiny lights and interest and little buttons to click on, and currencies and microcurrencies and microcurrencies and season passes and all that. And it was really in your face, and it actually impacted my ability to truly understand what mattered in this game. It took me quite a lot of runs to like understand the UI and the menus and like why any of this matters, which the reality is most of it doesn't. It's Marvel, so they have an infinite catalog of like potential cosmetics and things like that some people care about. So that is all over it. But if you just want to play the game, you don't have to pay for anything. It's not pay to win. It's pay to have like, I want the pixel variant of Spider-Man as my card back or whatever, which might be cool if you like that. But it took me a little while to get over that, to understand it. But I'll say that is balanced with incredibly high production of the actual game board, like what you were saying, Shane. There's a ton of nice little touches that really, really help you understand what's going on. Lots of little indicators that explain why someone's leading in a certain zone. Like, it's the production value is incredible. And yeah, it can all be done in portrait mode on your iPhone, which is nice. At minimum, most card games require landscape mode and like full 2-hand, full like constant engagement. This you can play like a little passively if you want. So Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't play a lot of these sorts of like major, loaded with pay for cosmetic situations, but I've been enjoying it. And I like Marvel, so there are worse things.
Mm-hmm. TLDR, there are worse things. Nate's review going on the back of the box.
Yep, there are worse things.
Mm-hmm.
This is very tempting to me because I love like this kind of game. I don't know if I have the room in my life for another one of these. I have a literal mountain of magic stuff that I haven't even like literal boxes of it that I haven't opened to play with yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, the fact that it would be a phone game, that's kind of appealing because it's, sure, I need another way to waste time on my phone. I actually do not. I do not need more ways to waste time on my phone. But I don't know. It looks really polished and really appealing, and I would really enjoy. I've seen some screenshots that involve like some very obscure, deep cut Marvel characters, and that is kind of cotton candy for me. So.
Well, they do some fun things too, where like the cards are representative of like their abilities are representative of the character, and some really clever ones like Jessica Jones. You play on a location, and if you don't play a card on that same location, the next turn her attack power doubles, and that's because Jessica Jones just wants to be left alone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty clever, don't we all?
Jessica Jones just wants a babysitter. That's all she really wants.
She just leave Jessica Jones alone. And like, I don't know, I thought that was pretty clever, and they expand that all of the characters, if they have an ability, which most do, it's going to be some sort of character representation.
Yeah, that's a big part of my appreciation of card games is how you can represent these kind of story elements mechanically. That's always my favorite. So, Laura, what's making? Well, hang on, Laura. What's? I can't come up with a good one, Laura.
What's filling your whiskey cup this evening?
Thank you, friend. You saved me.
Well, unfortunately, has nothing to do with whiskey, but I will say that I went out into the world on Saturday to Fort Green's Great Pupkin Halloween Dog Costume Contest. I haven't been to anything with that many people since COVID started, I think. But so first of all, it was outside, but it was crowded, and it was like tons of people, and then even the bystanders had dogs. So like the dog costume contest, I think, was capped at 100 entrants or something, but they were just dogs in costumes everywhere. People go so hard for this. Like the first place was a Princess and the Pea, where they did a full stack of mattresses, and the dog was a little princess costume went at the top, and the owner painted their face green and stuck it through a hole in the mattress so that you could see the like pee on the bottom. And the dog, the joke is that the dog hated being on the bed, so the dog immediately would try to jump off the bed, and the audience would cheer every time the dog got off the bed. Second place, but first place in our hearts, was IKEA stool, which was a 3-legged dog dressed up with an IKEA stool.
Yeah.
And third place turned a red wagon into like a full steam locomotive with 3 small bulldogs on it. One of them dressed as a conductor with with like the little fake legs, and it was holding like in its little fake hand was holding tickets. It was just like, I took a bunch of pictures. I'll post them in the show notes. I posted it for you too in the Discord. But my God, just some outlandishly like ice cream cone. I like cheered my butt off when I saw Rigatoni, which was just a dog in a tube. Like it went after like someone who had done a full like Where the Wild Things Are costume, where the 2 people dressed up as the monsters and the dog was Max, and like they had done a full body costume, and then the next one was just Rigatoni, and out comes a dog with just like a little cardboard noodle around him, and I was like, sometimes you're Rigatoni.
I love Rigatoni.
Anyway, it was super fun. Other than that, in spirit of Laura recommends things that no one can watch anywhere unless they search the bowels of YouTube and Reddit. I've been watching a lot of The Belgian Mole because I liked the Netflix Mole, but I am a pure NoHo fan, and I was like, these people aren't like they cast hot people, and that's not interesting.
Now, I don't know what you're talking about. That sounds mighty interesting to me.
Hot people deceiving themselves.
I've spent last 2 years out here in this here desert.
And you're just mighty warm. Anyway, I love the original Mole, which is it's a reality TV show that no one remembers except me and people who are in the Netherlands and Belgium, where it's the most popular TV show in existence. It's a show where everyone comes and joins the contest, but one person is a traitor, and you get eliminated by how well you can, guess the traitor. So you take a quiz at the end of the week, and if you can't answer the questions, you get sent home. Challenges on the Belgian Mole include the first one, they buried everybody alive in coffins. And the person who was playing the mole, based on their dossiers and like how much they thought you were intelligent, put them in increasing amounts of money. So like they put the people he thought were the smartest and someone who would only raise $100 if they got out and they had one puzzle to solve. And the people he thought would be dumbest, I'm going to say he, because again, if you want to watch this, the mole could be anybody, but the smartest person the dumbest people he put in something that had solved like 5 sequential puzzles inside of a coffin. I was like, this is hilarious. Like, well done, everybody. There was a Lucha Libre challenge where 2 people went off for a day and had to like learn a series of 5 moves. And then the other people had to identify what moves they were doing. There was also just a quiz where 2 people were asked a series of trivia questions and they had 3 shot glasses in front of them, and the wrong answers were tequila and the right answer was water, and at the end they had to take a breathalyzer test. And if they and then they had to wait 15 minutes, take a breathalyzer test, and if they passed it, they got the money. And I was like,
oh, man.
This is great.
I love that.
Because it was Mexico, and I was like, yeah, tequila, lucha libre, and Graves Western. I don't know. Super fun. You should find them on the internet. Everybody. It's not that hard to do.
God, I love the internet.
I also love the internet.
You know what else you can find on the internet?
What?
Is Netflix.
Yes, if you want to watch things that are easy to access, please.
No, that was my transition to my favorite thing.
Oh, I thought you were just like, yourself could just watch Netflix.
No, I'm not like I could just watch Netflix.
But you can, and there's awesome stuff on it, like
Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. This is for me, this has been the highlight of this year's kind of spooky watching season. I always enjoy doing a little bit of horror during the month of October. I have seen some really great horror films. A big shout out to Barbarian, but this is what I'm going to talk about today. I have a huge soft spot for anthology horror, especially when they want to do when it's anthology horror in the Twilight Zone style, by which I mean introduced by a weird little guy.
Yay! My favorite weird little guy.
Yes. He is wonderful. He really is. Guillermo del Toro is a icon. He's a horror icon, but broader as well. He's multi-talented. But he put together this series of I want to say 8 episodes, 8 little short horror films. 2 of them are based on stories that he has written, but all of them are just honestly the level of quality here is really high. If you watched a few different anthology horror series in the past, it's pretty common that they have some ups and downs. This one is almost all hits. I haven't actually seen every episode of this yet. I've still got the last 2 in the can to get back to, but there are some really, really wonderful horror shorts here. I won't give too many spoilers, but I'll give a few of what I think are the highlights and point you towards some of the episodes that I'm a big fan of. The first one is one of the ones based on a Guillermo del Toro short story. It's called Lot 36, and it has an absolutely excellent cast. It's basically Storage Wars, but horror. The main character is buying abandoned storage units, and there's actually a lot of horror potential for that idea. And like I mentioned, the cast is amazing. The main character is played by Timothy Blake Nelson, who is one of the guys from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And just really fantastic. My favorite episode, though, is one called The Outside, and it's sort of a more psychological thriller style episode. It happens to be based on a webcomic that I had read. That, I mean, it actually has a weird tie back to the short game in a very roundabout way, which is that the webcomic is by Emily Carroll, who did illustration for Gone Home. Cool. And that's basically the very first game we covered on this show those many years ago. But her horror comic, The Outside, I wouldn't necessarily, I won't spoil it. It's very hard to talk about without spoiling, but it's kind of about taxidermy and women's beauty products. And the episode stars Kate Misucci or Mikuchi. I don't know how you say her name. I'm probably saying it wrong. But that's one of the women who was one half of Garfunkel and Oates. And she's just very, very funny. She did the voice of Sadie Miller on Steven Universe, which is a show I've enjoyed. So she is great, and she's really fantastic as she's slowly losing her grip on reality in this, which is just a delight to watch.
And that one has Martin Starr and Dan Stevens being weird, my favorite thing.
I love Dan Stevens. I also just rewatched all of Steven Universe with our daughter, so Sadie is top of mind right now for me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a fantastic episode, just because like my favorite horror leans like drastically into the weird, and that one does. There's a strong like H.P. Lovecraft bent in this. There are two of these that are based on H.P. Lovecraft stories. Maybe the one that I really liked here was based on one of Lovecraft's probably less popular stories, Pickman's Model, which is not a story I'm totally wild about. But what I really enjoyed in this one is it stars Crispin Glover as Pickman, who he's doing the weirdest voice you will have ever hear him do, and he's a guy who can go kind of weird. So yeah, this is definitely worth checking out. I'm really looking forward to the last couple of these. Not every single one of these is a hit. I would say like the second and maybe the sixth episodes were a little on the weak side, but that's the best thing about anthology horror is like, there's something to like in every one of these, and some of these are just pure genius.
I've heard the murmuring is next level. And gore-free as well. Like murmuring, I've heard the murmuring is excellent and gore-free. So if you are like, I'm interested, but I can't do gore, like that's for you.
Yeah, so I have watched this as well, though I've not seen as many as Shane, and I echo the sentiment. And I'm not really a big horror fan, but I do like this style of horror, sort of campy, done quickly. Like I really love these.
The sort CGI.
The horror sort of reveals itself. It's dealt with, and then the episode's done, and it's especially some of these episodes. It's like the horror part isn't even, it's only a few minutes. But Guillermo del Toro's fingerprint is all over it as far as monster designs. And and there's also this, like, I don't think it goes too far to be distracting, but there is kind of like a social commentary thing that's running through that I was not expecting about, why would people do the things they do in horrible situations? It's like, well, maybe it's because of money. A lot of times, maybe money will make people do really dumb things, and that's not across all of the episodes, but it's across several of them, and I thought that was interesting. I will say, Shane, the first episode with Timothy Blake Nelson, who I really enjoy, Oh Brother War Out, that was one of my favorite movies. I thought he was really bad in that episode. It was like, I don't normally ever, I don't like to knock someone, but it was like incredibly distracting. I thought how bad he was, but it didn't, the episode was interesting. And there's
what did you think of the autopsy? I didn't mention that one. Yeah, that one. The show was really cooking by the time we got to that, and that episode concludes with one of the weirdest conversations that I've ever seen in film, and it's I won't say anything about that one because it is just it's original and wild.
Yeah, that's my favorite one, and it's not even close. I'll say too, the second one, I learned a lot about myself. So I've always known I don't have a lot of I don't have any of the sort of fears that are commonplace. I'm not really afraid of heights. I'm not really afraid of spiders, snakes, anything like that. But I've always known a little bit about myself that I'm like kind of claustrophobic. But that's a really easy one to avoid, and I mean like claustrophobic and like I don't want to go down in like a sewer or be buried alive, but it doesn't like trigger in a closet or anything like that. It's only like extreme circumstances of being claustrophobic. Like cave diving sounds like the worst thing that anyone could ever do. And episode 2 is all underground, crawling through horrible tunnels. And I left that episode being like, I don't ever want to watch a horror thing again. It's the only time I've ever felt something from a horror show where I was like legitimately feeling those like stressed watching this. So as a credit to them, even though the episode was all right, like their depiction of like the claustrophobia, like literally it got me, and I was like, I need to turn this off.
That's what's so funny about horror is like people's response to it can be really like as unique as your own fear, and it can be totally idiosyncratic. And that episode didn't really do that much for me, but the first one, Lot 36, really did. I think whoever you are and whatever it is that kind of makes your heart beat faster, there's going to be something in this series for you. One thing that that I think will make a lot of people's heart beat faster is the introductions by Guillermo del Toro. I have never seen him looking so suave.
I know.
And it's in his is it in his awesome house?
Well, no, it's a full on other thing.
Okay.
It's in a kind of a black set. I wish I wish it were. I think it's very much inspired by like his sensibilities. I have seen his house, and Laura, you've told us about that art exhibit that had a lot of his stuff in it. I would love to see that. It's very inspired by his vibe. But it's him in a really good suit. And opening up like hidden compartments in a giant cabinet, essentially.
If you love like little,
Room,
little, that's exactly what it is, Laura. I thought about The Room. It's like, imagine if someone made a physical like $1 million budget, because it's Guillermo del Toro's like a puzzle box, and he has like a little figurine that is like a representation of every episode, and the opening is just him like pulling little drawers, opening little things, like twisting little knobs, and then pulling out a little figurine, telling you about the story you're about to watch. And then he says who directs it, which is a nice touch. And then he sets it on the table, and then it goes into the show, and it's great. Yeah.
I am so glad that he took his power from winning an Oscar and was like, I'm doing an anthology series with every single horror director that I admire, and they're all going to do one episode, and they're going to very, special effects will be placed on top of real effects, and I'm going to do every single one with a cool little puzzle box thing.
Get to work on my insane puzzle box. And I really love his, he really tries to call out other people that are a part of these things. It's, his name is all over it because of course, but I think he does a good job of at least trying to give credit, spread the wealth of acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm.
For his upcoming stop motion Pinocchio, everyone was like, how cute. He put the puppets got to walk the red carpet, and he said the people who made the puppet are artists, they're production designers. This was the way to get their work out, and it's dumb to just have the voice actors. He was like, the puppets are the work.
Right.
He's like, I had the puppets, and then the production designers who designed them got to stand behind them, so they got to walk the red puppet with the carpet. And I was like, yay.
There's an adorable little video, Molly shared this with me, where he's just standing on the red carpet and he's just playing with this little Pinocchio puppet, and he just has this giant grin on his face. He looks like a little kid, but he's also, the shape and vibe of Guillermo del Toro. It's wild. It's adorable.
I'm in the tank for this very night.
I am extremely. I can't wait for that Pinocchio, because I don't know if you've heard the details on this, that it's set in 1930s fascist Italy.
So good.
Yeah, and I mean it's got the Jim Henson Company is going to be in there. He is once again continuing the ongoing employment of Ron Perlman.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to see what happens in this. It's just the poster. Pinocchio is opening some kind of massive door and confronting a winged sphinx. What is
the blue fairy?
What is this? Is that how could it be? I don't know, man. And especially after so close on the heels after Disney's absolutely horrifying quote unquote live action Pinocchio. I don't know if you guys
tried to distance it from my existence. So Christoph Waltz on the red carpet was asked so how are you doing this? You don't normally do voice acting. And he said, just straight to the camera, he said, I didn't think there needed to be another Pinocchio in this world, and I told my people to ignore it. And then they said, it is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, and I said, there should be another Pinocchio, and Guillermo del Toro should direct it, and I will be in it. And I was like, that's how I feel about this one. Yeah, again, in the tank. I hope just seems
2022
very nice.
Highs and lows of Pinocchio.
Yeah.
I know.
It may be one of the things that has been turned into a movie the most times.
Yeah, I don't know what has been, but that's got to be up there for sure. Well, I think that's everything for us. So this was a half Card Cowboy and half monsters episode. So thank you all for being a part of it with us. Let us know what you like about this episode. We've been trying different things, super short game like this, or our broader topic episode like we did a couple weeks ago. We're just trying to figure out different things we can put on the feed. And so let us know what you like. You can let us know in a variety of different ways. You could consider joining our Patreon, patreon.com/theshortgame. Patrons of any level get access to our private Discord. It's great. We get a lot of our game recommendations from there. We have just a nice time chatting with people in our community. And it's kind of constantly going at this point, which has been a ton of fun. I've got our Disco Elysium subreddit. Our Disco Elysium channel is going, which has been nice for me because I just only want to talk about that game.
It's going to take us so long to all play that, but it'll be worth it when
someday,
we do 1,000 episodes about it.
Yeah, someday. So, and also patrons at the $5 level get hand-kissed stickers from Reagan himself, who couldn't be with us today.
He's too busy kissing the stickers, one presumes.
Yeah, we keep him. He's got a tight schedule, And you could also check out our website at theshortgame.net. We have a contact form there. You can also find our full back catalog, show notes, everything you might ever want from us is on there. And you could find us on Twitter at _shortgame. You can find me wrestling snakes and varmints on Twitter at NateSTL. And Shane, where can people find you?
Y'all can find me looking at the 30 different film adaptations of Pinocchio, according to Wikipedia. And you can find me on Twitter at 8-Bit Shane.
That's liable to drive a man insane. Laura, how about yourself?
You can also, for now, find me on Twitter at Laura J. Dash.
Hey, if you're worried about Twitter devolving you into even more of a hellscape, consider the Discord server. We've got
honestly, the Discord is lovely.
The Discord
really
is lovely.
We have a good one. I'm on a few Discords. Ours is the best one.
Yeah.
If you're on our Patreon and you have not joined the Discord yet, we are a welcoming bunch and we would love to have you because it is a really nice place on the internet and we're not just blowing smoke up our lovely patrons.
The snakes are benign and the whiskey is warm. Come on in. All right. That'll think I'll do it. We'll be back next week with something. Maybe we'll just do Card Cowboy again next week. And until next week, hope you all have a wonderful week. And thank you for listening to The Short Game.